All right. I'd like to welcome everyone back to the live stream at the SEMA collision repair and refinish stage. Today I'm here with Richard Perry from Chief Automotive, and we're going to talk about some structural holding.
Sounds good. What we've looked at is working with the OEMs. I'll pass on some of these slides so that we can see what we're doing. But what we're talking about is structural holding for now and into the future, because more and more of the OEMs are looking towards some type of structural holding with the vehicle designs. So as we go into looking at the vehicles, they're manufacturing this vehicles with different components, aluminum, carbon fiber, all different types of materials, and there's less pulling on these vehicles, and there's going to be more parts replacement. So what they're looking for is some way to hold those parts in place during the repair process.
You know, and I think this is something that, the industry is always talking about ADAS and EV, and that's really important. But I feel like this is a topic that has kind of gotten pushed to the back burner, and it's really critical that it's not.
You're exactly right. This should be the first part of that process, because we always look at it, and I've heard the term used in the industry a couple of times. There's like 3 different alignments that have to be done after a vehicle's gone through a collision. First off, it's got to have a structural alignment, making sure all the components are back into the proper position. And then it has to have a wheel alignment, and then it goes into what we would refer to as like a safety alignment. That's where all the ADAS modules have to be validated and recalibrated from that standpoint. And it has to go in that order. So if you eliminate one and skip to the next one, if something's off, it's kind of throwing it off throughout the entire process, or you're throwing a Band-Aid over something.
Well, and I think, I've seen it a lot of times where they send it over to a mechanical shop to get an alignment and won't take an alignment. And one of the first things you have to look at is that structure. And so it's been with us since the creation of the automobile that if the structure's not right, the alignment angles aren't right, and nothing's going to be right, and it's a mystery why it's eating tires, but usually it goes back to the structure, and if you didn't hold it properly, that's a huge problem.
It is, and a lot of times it's just, I would say in some cases they didn't take enough measurements on the vehicle. And if you don't find everything that's wrong with the vehicle, you're not going to fix it, obviously. And some of those points that might be off are critical points that are going to affect your suspension angles, your drivability of the vehicle, how the sheet metal lines up and so forth. Then you got to go back and backtrack. And once you go back to that point, everything forward of that has also changed once you correct it. So,
well, and like when I came into the collision industry, we had gotten away from shims and all those kinds of things on fenders, and those tolerances on sheet metal of how they fit up has only gotten tighter. And so if that structure's off a little bit, you can't just hone out a hole and call it good, because that affects so many things down the line.
It certainly does. And one thing that's really come out and has worked with us is the OEMs they've really started providing more and more data, CAD data to the manufacturers, but more and more data on how to repair the vehicles specific to the way they want it done. And if they provide us with the CAD data, that helps us tremendously from a manufacturing standpoint, because now we know exactly where that part's at, the procedures, what needs to be held, what needs to be measured from that standpoint as well. So the CAD data is crucial going forward with these OEMs.
Okay. So I know we got the Chief rack here in the booth with the GMC Hummer on it. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that holding system that you have right now?
That system is what we refer to as our all-brand base package. With it, we can hold up to 12 points on the vehicle at any location. We also have some other components that we can add to that to get into more of the upper body holding as well. But anything that has a bolt-on part, such as a cradle, end of the rail where the bumper reinforcements are, anything like that, we've got brackets that we can come up at any angle and hold that part in place. We use that in conjunction with our computerized measuring system. The measuring system is going to tell us where that reference point needs to be out in midair, and then we're going to place it there, lock it in for whatever joining method needs to be done, whether it's a welding process, a rivet bonding process, or just a bonding process. We can hold it in that location throughout that entire process.
So, I think that's one thing that, the days of 4 pinch weld clamps to do any kind of a pull or anything like that, are long gone if you're working on anything new.
In a lot of cases, it is because more and more of the manufacturers are just looking to identify what's damaged on the vehicle, hold everything else, cut that part off, and replace it, and then hold it during that repair process. And what we did with our system was we designed it to work with any of our chief racks that are out there. So if it's got that rectangular hold on top, we can hold the vehicle at any location on the machine, any direction, and hold up to multiple points. So one thing the OEMs are looking for is, with these vehicles, they want to create a platform to work off of and hold the entire vehicle during that repair process so you don't get movement throughout the vehicles. And that's one of the most critical things, because like you said, the reference points and the tolerances are getting so tight on these vehicles, we really have to identify what's not damaged, hold that, and then repair what is damaged, put the new parts on to those tolerances that they create.
All right. So what's on the next slide here? What do we got going?
This is the one way, by using the CAD data, we can reference the points, we can identify all the points on the vehicle that we need to hold, or the OEMs tell us to hold, that are critical during that repair process. And it's obvious that depending on what we're doing, we might also have some points on here. Again, this shows our basic structural holding, has up to 12 holding points on there, anywhere, any height. But in this case, we show you a lot of points on the vehicle attached to our frame rack all over the vehicle, going from the B pillar, C pillar, the A pillar, underneath the structure, strut towers, ends of the rails. It's obvious we're not going to hold all those points at one time, but we've got the capability of holding the points that need to be repaired and replaced at the proper location during the repair process.
Well, you know, and years ago, I know when you would pick up certain vehicles and you'd try to open the door on the hoist, it would actually bend the fender in because the car sagged. But now I've seen on vehicles now, you have the whole side of it cut off, and you could have it hanging on the 4 pinch weld clamps, and it's fine.
It is.
But that's where I think the misconception kind of is in the industry that, well, I don't need as many holding points because the cars are so strong, but the exact opposite is true.
Right. They want the technician to be able to control that vehicle the way they did when they manufactured the vehicle. That way, if we're getting CAD data from them, we're putting it back at that same location that was used during the manufacturing process. We know that we're not going to have any flex in the vehicle, any droop in the vehicle at the opposite end of where we're repairing it. So we shouldn't have any issues with sheet metal alignment, doors opening, closing, things like that, and especially the steering suspension of the vehicle.
So are there any like special brackets for those suspension areas?
There is, and a lot of manufacturers will tell us, okay, we want you to hold this in this manner, so we may have to create a special bracket for that location, and it's going to be specific to that platform for that vehicle. So some manufacturers use the same platform on multiple vehicles. It'll cross over to all of those. But if manufacturer changes that platform, then there's probably going to be a change in that fixture that mounts directly to the vehicle. And that's the only thing that we're looking at, is that one piece that mounts to the vehicle that may be specific to that one platform. Anywhere else on the vehicle, it may just be a simple bracket. We run a bolt through, locks it into a cradle location or into the rail or something like that.
All right. So now on here, you got some upper gantry kind of going up on there?
Correct. This one's showing that we're holding the upper windshield pillars and also the inner A pillar on this location, because if you get one hit in the A pillar, you're going to replace the outer and possibly the inner. This allows us to hold the inner A pillar where it needs to be, so we have to reach in through the vehicle and hold it from the inside versus the outside of the vehicle.
It's pretty amazing how far some of this has come from where it started, you know, with the 4 pinch weld clamps and a pulling tower.
Yeah, a couple of vice grips and some screws. You know, it's really changed the industry, and you know, it's been for a good reason, because the OEMs are manufacturing the vehicles so much better than they ever have before. The tolerances are tighter, the materials are stronger. It's all about safety of the vehicle, make sure that the vehicle is going to drive the way it was intended after repair, that we're put to the situation where we've got to repair the vehicle in such a way that we're going to put it back to the way the OEM wants it done. So tools have changed, the industry's changed obviously, but it leads us in the direction that we really need to be going for the industry.
And one of the things I like to do is when somebody is kind of new to the industry, or even just family and friends, when they start talking about the how good cars used to be, and I go, well, yeah, they were a lot of fun and a lot of enjoyment, but I don't want to get in an accident one of them, because you start watching crash test videos and how the energy goes through, and instead of going into the people, it goes through the car structure, and how all that has to work together just right. It's astounding how far they've come.
It really is. One of the best crash videos I've seen was, I think it was the 55 or 59, that's what it was. And you see the crash dummy eat the steering wheel and everything, and how the car just collapses and folds up and starts at the front bumper and comes all the way into the passenger compartment. And like you said, today, you get one hit on the end of the rails, and that energy just, it absorbs it, then the metal stops absorbing and starts to transfer it, and it transfers it in a way around that passenger compartment to where, again, we have to repair these so that it's going to reproduce that if it's in another accident, that passenger is now safe again.
Well, and with all of those kinds of energy absorption and deflection and transferring it, it's so critical that when you're looking at how you're holding this, that there's nothing in there that you're introducing that won't transfer or won't, you don't want to make things stronger. And how you go about holding it is, I think, the foundational piece, because if you're not holding things, especially when you're doing a pull to replace a part, if you're over pulling an area because you might be pulling on a part that is ultra high strength steel, attach some HSLA, and if you're not holding that part in the right position, it's now pulling in areas you don't want it to happen.
Exactly. So you're actually putting more damage into the vehicle and creating some weak areas that are going to collapse during the next accident if you're not careful. Again, just like you preach and all the training institutes, the first thing you got to do is pull up the OEM information, identify what can be done to that vehicle, how it needs to be held, what procedures, where can you replace or repair something versus it all needs to be replaced at that point. So all that's critical, and it's like you said too, I came from the shop, I was like, oh, if I make this stronger, it's going to be better. That could be the absolute opposite with these new vehicles. If I make it too strong, it's not going to transfer or absorb the way it was designed to, and it could delay an airbag reaction time or something like that could cause injury to the passenger that should never have happened.
And it's one of the things that the first accident the vehicle was in might not have been that bad, but the next one could be severe.
Exactly, especially if the vehicle's not repaired properly. It's definitely going to cause some issues with how the vehicle's going to react, absorb that energy, and what could have been somebody walking away, maybe they don't walk away because of that. So,
all right. So we got another slide here.
This just shows a setup. This is a Corvette C8 mid-engine, and what we did was it was hitting the front, had some movement in the front, so we set this up, measured a couple of points on there, but held it during the replacement of the parts that were being replaced on that vehicle. So just a quick look at it, showing it set up.
Well, I think that is something that when we used to replace parts without any of these holding, you kind of had to get it into position, clamp it, going back and measure it, and a lot of guys were using tram bars and tape measures and things like that, and they were pretty good at it.
Right.
But they were never at 1 millimeter precision within the spec of the OEM, where it was that critical. So these holding the service part while you get it attached is a lot easier in the long run.
It is, and like you said earlier, these cars are so much stronger that you don't get a lot of the flex that you did before. A lot of times before you could finalize a vehicle, you had to put the full load back on it and see if your gaps look good or if they closed up and your fender's rubbing the door now. Now you got to go back and change something. Well, because of how strong they are, now we can hold the entire vehicle, lock it in, And when we're done, we know we're not going to have any flex like that during that finished product once we take it down.
All right. Well, looks like we're out of time.
Well, Scott, appreciate it.
Thanks for coming in, and hope to see you again soon.
I thank you. I appreciate it.